Hey guys, Mystic Roo here, and today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that will help you when you play Clue with your friends. So for this tutorial, we are going to play with the computer. Now these tips and tricks will work for any Clue game, but they might be slightly altered. Not by much. Okay, so we're going first. Now, when picking your first location, it doesn't matter too much where you go as long as you get in a room. If you're not in a room, you can't make a guess, and we don't want that. For this, we are going to go with one of the corners. It's always nice to be in a corner if possible, because if you have a bad roll and can't get to another room, because you're in the corner, you're able to get to a second room. So let's go with the conservatory. Now we know that because of our cards, we have Mustard, Scarlet, and the library. Some guesses, what's really good to do is guess a card that we have, because, right, we know that further down the line, it's only going to be those two cards. So let's guess Mustard. We'll do the Candlestick and the Conservatory. The next thing here we know, right, if we're following along with our chart, we're going to start numbering. Numbering is super useful for figuring out things before someone shows you the card. So, for instance, Plum made a guess of these three cards. Scarlet has one of those cards, right? We don't know what their card is, but we know based on this, right, that they did not show them the candlestick. We've already guessed the candlestick. So that leaves this down to the ballroom, which I'm going to mark with a 1, or Plum. Now this was a guess, right? Let's keep them together. So that's why they're both number 1s. So already I know that Scarlet has to either have Plum or the ballroom, which could help me out later down the road. So see here, Scarlet got a 3. You can't go anywhere with a 3. With a 4, right, you're able to get to the ballroom and nowhere else. But at least you're able to get in a room. Okay. And again, right, we have Scarlet, so this has already been taken off the playing field for us. And we can mark this row with another 1 and 1. You want to keep the numbers the same going up and down. It doesn't matter if you have like 4 1s across, as long as they're not the same up and down. Because once you eliminate one of these, you know it has to be the other one. Okay, so you got a 6. Not many options with a 6, but it's still options. Okay. Again, right, Mustard is showing green a card. Now, it's a little bit trickier, right? There's 3 options it could be. But we're still going to mark them because later down the road, this could really help us out in figuring things out. Okay, so we're starting out in the kitchen because someone has guessed and put us there. Now, because someone put us in that room, we're able to stay in the kitchen if we wanted to, which could be useful. In this case, I'm going to take it as a useful thing, even though we rolled high enough to move out of the kitchen, because of this 1, right? I have 3 1s down here, but if I'm able to find the kitchen with someone else, I can eliminate this 1, narrowing this down to a 50-50 probability between these two, right? So we're going to stay in the kitchen. Now see, we got the rope right off the bat, eliminating this 1. this is really important because now that we've taken this one off the table, if we look in this column, right, there's no other ones than here, which means we now know that green here has the lounge. They have to have had one of those ones because they'd shown one of those to a previous player. So now, because there's no other ones and we know what it is, we can just remove the one. And now we found out 2 cards by 1 guess. Okay, the conservatory. Now we know this isn't going to go far because the conservatory is owned by white. So we could mark these. However, I usually choose not to. If I know for a fact that they have the conservatory, I'm not going to spend my time wasted on these. It's possible they have it, but in a 6-player game, everyone only has 3 cards, so the odds of it are extremely low. A hall. Okay. So the good thing for us is we don't know anything about the hall. Okay. Again, they're showing them a card. Now, because there's ones already in this row, this column, we want to put 2s because this is a whole different guess. If we ended up putting 1s, we wouldn't be able to tell the difference from one round of guesses to another. We want to keep them separate so that we can eliminate things. Now again, it's a 6-person game, so they only have 3 cards. So if we got, let's say, a 3 here, a 3 here, and a 3 here, we could eliminate everything else as a possible option for them. Because they have to have at least 1 1, 1 2, and 1 3. Now, we know the library. Again, that didn't get us very far, but it eliminated this 1. So we're going to take that 1 off. And now we've got that 1 down to a 50-50 of them either having Peacock or the kitchen. We do have 2 options. We can give them mustard or we can give them the library. Now, again, we want to limit how many cards we've given out. We've given out Scarlet before. We've given out the library. We don't want to toss mustard in here as well, because if someone's actually keeping really close eye on this, they're going to notice that we're giving out other cards. So we're going to give them the library and pretend that we have no idea about mustard. Now, we have this 1 down to a 50-50, right? So we have Peacock and we have the kitchen. We also have this ballroom down to a 50-50. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with the kitchen. Now that we're in the kitchen, we're going to guess Plum because Plum's got 2 questions here. They both can't have Plum. Either no one has Plum or someone has Plum, right? So we have Plum. And we don't have any really numbers here other than the revolver. Now, again, it's possible they could have Plum and the revolver. It's unlikely, but it's possible. But this is still a number in our corner. If someone here had the revolver, this would be eliminated. So we're still going to guess it. Okay, so they have Plum, eliminating this 2. Now, I'm keeping this 1 with the check mark. Why would I do that? So I want to keep that 1 because this could still be, the ballroom could still be owned by Scarlet. There's nothing that's eliminated it. And if I get rid of this 1, but I'm still following my logic, right? This would show me that this is the only one and I could accidentally mark it. And that could really screw me up. So you have to keep it very, very straight. Now, if I ended up having, let's say, a 1 here, a 1 here, and a 1 here, and I had a check mark here and here, right? Then I would know that at least one of those is a check mark. So I could get rid of one of them. One of the ones. Okay? We know it's not mustard. So that's completely off the table. However, he guessed the dagger and the ballroom. So, because we know they have to have one of these, we can mark them both with a 2. And now, because we know they have to have one of these, which is a 50-50, right? We can take the 1 off of here and here because we no longer need it, because this is now a placeholder. And we can keep in mind that there's been a 1 and a 2. And we could keep it if we wanted to. However, in a long game with a lot of good players, you're going to use up all your numbers, right? You only get 5. It is possible to use all your numbers. And if you use them all, you're going to have a hard time keeping track. So I like to eliminate things if possible. Okay, so again, we're back to that ballroom, right? Scarlet now has made this guess, and it's shown up twice. So what I like to do, if I see a lot of things like coming up like that, I put a question mark, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Now, the system, if someone guesses ballroom and it skips over her, meaning that she doesn't have the card, it'll correct this for me and just put an X. But we know it can't be plum. The revolver's already in question, right? And so now is the billiard room. So because I don't have much to go on, I'm gonna mark them both 3. Now, even though I have the 2, right? It's possible it could be this one. Now, before I said if you have a 1, a 2, and a 3, you could X everything. But that's only if your 1s, 2, and 3s don't overlap. If they overlap at all, you could really screw yourself up with that. So you have to keep this very, very straight. So here, there's a couple different things we can do because we've got 3 rooms. This has nothing on it. This has one that's a 50-50, and we have the ballroom, which has 2 guesses. And we're pretty sure about that ballroom. But we don't know. So in this case, I'm going to choose the ballroom. Also, to eliminate one of those 50-50s, this wrench here is a 50-50. So we're going to toss in the wrench. And then for people, right? Peacock is still up in the air. And this last person, it's hard to get information on this last one because we have to go through everyone else and nothing has to match. So we're going to go with ourself, right? And we're going to go with the wrench this time. Now, we also could have gone with the revolver, knowing that the first person's not going to have it, right? And neither is green. But we have 2 here with the wrench and only one of them can have it. So we're going to try to eliminate something here. Okay. So, good thing we marked this a question mark. We now know Scarlet doesn't have this card. And because it's an X, we can remove the number. And we notice that there's only one other 2, and that's the dagger. So now we know that Scarlet has this dagger. And we can take this 2 off because there's no other 2s. Okay? We also got a clue. This is the ballroom. So Scarlet didn't have the ballroom. White did this entire time. And that didn't give us much else to go on. Now, again, not removing the 1 because there's a 1 here, a 1 here, and a 1 here. If I remove this 1, I'm going to think I have a 50-50. And if they both end up not being right, I've just now screwed myself up with my sheet. So I have to keep it straight. Now, here's another way it saves us. Remember when I said your 1s, 2s, and 3s, if they didn't line up, you can mark X with everything else? Well, look at what we got. We have a 2 here, a 2 here, and a 2 here. And a 1 and a 1. That means, because this is a 6-player game, and you only have 3 cards, and we know one of their cards is the lounge, because we were keeping track with our numbers really well, right? We now know all of these are X's. They have to have at least 1 1 and 1 2. Now, we have the library, so that's off the table. And we know they don't have the rope, so this is what I call a freebie, right? Not the library, not the rope. They can only have one other card, and they have to have it, because they've shown it, right? So this person has white, and we've eliminated that. There's another thing we can take from here. Is because we know they have to have 2 cards, right? And they have to have a 1, a 2, and a 3 of some combination, right? So because of that, this is highly likely that they have the revolver. Because they only have 2 cards that they haven't shown. So the 2 and the 3 here share, and the 1 does. So, following very closely, ready? We know they have 2 cards. They have to have a 1, a 2, and a 3. There's only 2 cards. So we know these are X's. Okay. We know they have to have at least 1, 1. Right? Which is a 50-50. They also have to have a 2 and a 3. The only 2 and 3 that overlap is right here. So we know they have to have this revolver. There's no other combination that would work where this would work out for us. So we're going to mark that. We're also going to mark everything else except for the 1s with an X. Because they have to have one of those 1s. We've taken off the 2. We've taken off this 3. We're removing the 2 and the 3 here. Right? And because we paid so close attention with our numbers, we have just gotten a whole bunch of information that we would not have otherwise. A lot of people don't know how to use these numbers to keep track, and it makes them really bad clue players. A lot of people think it's luck and just guessing things, but it's not. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. There's higher levels of thinking than this. This is a simple, like, getting into Clue, I want to be somewhat good at it, starter, right? I'm pretty good amongst my friends. My friends don't even use the sheets like this. They use the paper Clue, and they're like, oh, okay, so-and-so has the knife, and they just kind of check it. Or they put an initial of who they think has it. If you use the whole sheet with all the information, you'll figure out the game a lot quicker. And you'll get ahead of them. We could go to the library, we can go to the conservatory, the ballroom, and the billiard room. Out of all of these, the only one we don't have information on is the billiard room. Now, sometimes that's not always best to go to the room that we don't know anything about. However, in this case, I think it is, because we have this 2, and it's 1 of 3. So if we can eliminate something, that would help us out greatly. So in this case, we're going to go to the billiard room. Okay. There's 2 people left. Obviously, if someone shows me green, they're going to show me green a lot quicker than they're going to show me peacock. Because we know the first 3 people don't have peacock. And if we can eliminate green, we know it has to be peacock, right? It's a 50-50 right there. So we're going to put green. The other thing that we don't know is this wrench, and it has 2 1s. So we really want to get rid of that. So let's put that wrench in and see what we get. Okay, green is now off the table, making this, it's us. And we can mark these X's. Now, because they're X's, we can remove the 2. We can remove this 1. Now remember that 1 was a 50-50 here. So we know they have the kitchen. So this has now so far given us 2 cards. The one we've shown and that 50-50 has been eliminated. We now know every card that Mustard has. So nothing's going to surprise us there. We also now know, because White has shown us this card, that's all their cards. So everything else in their column, right? 1, 2, and 3 is all X's. And remember when I said sometimes when you mark multiple 1s, it could be, here's one of those cases, right? The ballroom was a 1, and so was green. They had both of those. Had we unchecked 1, this could have really screwed us up. But we didn't, because we were smart. So now that we know all of their cards, we're going to remove all of those ones. We've circled Peacock because why wouldn't we make it easier for us to look at all this gibberish by just circling it, right? Now, what's left is this candlestick, the lead pipe, and the wrench. This 2 is now a 50-50, and so is this 1. And because they only have 2 cards they haven't shown us, and we know the lounge, because we're smart and we keep track, right? We know that anything else is an X. So that lead pipe just got a whole lot more sus, right? There wasn't much to X out here because we've gotten a lot of information, but it still helps. It's one less thing we have to guess. So we're down to 3 weapons. We know it's us. We were guilty here. And now I have this ballroom, the dining room, the hall, and the study. Okay. Okay. Before we even show them anything, because of their guess, we just learned this is the wrench. So we can take this 1 off, right? And that 1 was a 50-50, guys. So again, we're getting another free card, and it's not even our turn to see anything. Now that we have that, we can remove the 1, right? So it's down to this 2. They either have the candlestick or the billiard room. Now, we've still got a lot of information here, right? Because since we now know it's the wrench, right, because it has been eliminated, we know they have to have the candlestick. There's no other way that can be played. So we're going to add our check mark. Right? We're gonna... And that was their last card. So we now know they don't have the billiard room, which means it's the billiard room. And we have now figured out everything. Right? And if we wanted to go more into detail, which we can, right? What else could we have gotten from this? We also now know that this person has the lead pipe. Right? We don't have to know that, but we do now. Right? And limiting this down to a 50-50, they either have the hall or the study. Same thing with Scarlet, who either has the hall or the study, because everything else has been figured out at this point. So we're going to give them the library, because we've shown the library off quite a bit compared to how many times we've shown Mustard. Now, unfortunately, it's not our turn, and there's a bunch of people in front of us. Is it possible the game could be solved beforehand by people making really good guesses? Yes. So at this point, there's not much that we can do other than wait out our turn. Now, we have everything we need, so we don't need to do much. However, this is something you see a lot of players do. If they are able to get to the room, they guess the person, the weapon, and the room, just to confirm their suspicion. However, we don't have that option. So there's 2 things. You can either have some fun with it and try to make it so that the first person after you, by speeding it up, right, shows you the card that they have, which we know Plum has the lead pipe or the rope, so I could just toss that in. Or we can, just for the fun of it, figure out who has the hall and the study, since we're just curious anyway. So let's go with the study, which we happen to be in anyway. And we'll toss Mustard, because we're not worried at this point, right? And we know it's the wrench. So let's just toss that in and see who has the study. Okay. So by knowing that Scarlet has the study, right, we know that Plum had to have had the hall. Now we know everyone's card. We do our final accusation, and now that we've circled these, the system's really nice in the way that if you're looking through it, you don't have to compare. If you circled it, it will circle their name for you. If you click their name. If you click anything else, it won't. So, the wrench is circled, we're going to click the wrench. We're going to click the billiard room, right? Because in a long game, sometimes you don't want to check back and forth. What if you click the wrong thing? There's several things that could go wrong. Circle it. And there we go. And that's how you play Clue, guys. So I hope these tips and tricks helped you out. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe.